Thank you everyone for coming to the RSECon 25 submission review Q&A. My name's Philip or Pip Grills, and I'm this year's programme chair. So that essentially means that I've got some leeway in setting the themes and directions, and I will be helping put together the programme. So looking at the submissions and then looking at what the reviewers say about them and trying to put together an engaging programme to make a good RSECon. I am helped out by that by the programme team, which you can see here. The programme co-chair is in this call. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, so hello, so I'm Heather Ratcliffe. I'm another RSE at Warwick, and I've been co-chairing the programme along with Pip.
Okay, and then we've also got our poster session chair. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Catherine. I'm the poster chair, which means I'm responsible for the submissions for the posters and the prices and criteria.
Thank you. And talks, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Ian Barris from the University of Glasgow, and the talks this year is including presentations, which includes talks and walkthroughs as well.
Okay, I'm just trying to see if we have actually got anyone from workshops. I think Ryan is unable to make it, so there is also a workshop chair, Ryan Field, and they will be looking at the interactive sessions such as workshops, birds of a feather, and hackathons, that sort of thing. So you can get in touch with them if you need. All of their details, I believe, can be found on the RSECon website. For now, let's go through a bit more to say. So first up, if you want to screenshot this, or someone's got hands up. Neil?
Sorry to interrupt it.
No worries.
In the screen share, I've just got a black square. I'm not
For
sure.
the presentation?
Yeah.
Right. I'm not sure we can debug that on the fly.
Is there a link to the slides that you could show people?
Let's do that. Can other people see the slides I'm sharing? No, okay. That's a fun thing. Okay, let me... Can people see them now?
No.
Joy. Okay, apologies everyone. Such as working with computers. Okay, just updating the link for them. Those are the slides. What does it want to present? I'm going to try sharing my entire screen and then hit. People see it now.
Yeah, that's worked.
Perfect. Excellent. Okay, I can't see any of you in the chat, so please just one of my team, can you let me know if anyone's asking questions? Otherwise, if you want to ask a question directly, just open up. So, first thing we've got is I wanted to just show you where to go to do a submission or nominate yourself as a reviewer or anywhere else for any other RSECon 25 related stuff. So I've put a few QR codes there that should jump straight to the relevant pages. But on rsecon25.society-rse.org, under the calls tab, you've got call for reviewers, call for volunteers, call for interactive sessions, call for posters, and call for presentations. The QR code here for submissions just takes you to the landing page that does all of them. And if you want to be a reviewer, scan the relevant QR code. So feel free to take a quick screenshot of that now. And if there's any problems with that, just let us know and we'll get the website updated. So I'm going to go through a live demo, or live-ish demo of the abstract submission form soon, but I just wanted a heads up if you think it looks a bit light when you open it up. That is because you have to put in your event type, and then the logic will ask you relevant questions rather than asking you things about presentation length if you're submitting a poster. So do just select your event type. A few things we would like you to keep in mind when you're doing your submissions is the conference this year has what we're calling twin themes. So one of them is RSE and research excellence. So that's looking at how RSEs contribute to the general culture of research excellence. What is it that you are doing that enables researchers to go on and do excellent research? Or if you have a sort of RSE-based research project, you can look at your own things. The other one is looking at RSE in the context of digital research infrastructure. So the UK government and UKRI do define RSEs as part of DRI. They are the human side of DRI, and we want to really, it shouldn't necessarily change what you'd be submitting from last year. It's just trying to put that focus on it and use that wording so we can make it clearer to everyone attending, and especially if we've got anyone attending from UKRI or wider afield, that what we do is critical research infrastructure, specifically digital research infrastructure. So we want people to make that shine in their abstracts. And as we'll go on to when I talk about reviewing, we'll be thinking about how the reviewers can show if people are highlighting. Other things, this is a conference for research software engineers. We are therefore mostly, and the wider community, but the core of your audience is likely to be software engineers. That means technical talks are highly encouraged. Lots of people going there for community and for catching up with people, but a lot of people going there as a form of continuing professional development. So don't be afraid of giving a talk that is technical in nature and is engaging. Just make sure that in your abstract and what you're doing, it's clearly communicated who you expect your audience to be. The reviewer is going to be thinking about their knowledge of the community and who will be attending and what you've said and who you're expecting to hit with that. And then finally, as probably you should think before you do any talk, is why are you communicating this topic to this audience at this time? So if you're answering those sort of 3 questions in one, but if you're answering those, then you're going to be writing a good submission, because you're going to be writing something that is interesting. Why are you communicating the topic? Hopefully it's interesting. This audience should be interesting to them, and at this time, hopefully it should be relevant. I'm imagining we'll get a reasonable amount of AI and machine learning things coming through, because that's the trend at the moment. So just make sure that they're novel and you're not just repeating something that you've seen at another conference. But that will all be done through the review process. And if you we'll hang on to the end of this presentation, and then I'm going to go through and I'll just show you what the fields look like so you can get an idea of what to expect when you put your submission together.
Philip? Sorry.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah,
you mentioned that in this, I have also tried to open this abstract form, and the same form opens if I try to make a submission for either talk or poster.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, and as we all can see that this just asks for basic details like author details and event type. So and then there is the submit button at the bottom. So I just wanted to know where should I fill up all the remaining details? For example, the questions that you have mentioned in the screen, and also the other detailed questions that are present on the web page for each of these calls for posters or talks or other types of sessions. Okay,
thank you. Yeah, that's a good question. So what I'll do is, so when you select the event type, which is the down here, if you can see my mouse pointer, then it should autofill the rest of the form with lots of other fields. So once you've selected your event type, you should be able to scroll down and see what's available to you. When I do the demo of the system, I will show you, and I will flick through a few different types of event types and show you the differences in the questions.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, talking of it, and if my If the program team want to jump in and add any clarification, I'll just leave them to pause at the end of each one. But you really should, we want you to consider what format you're choosing when you're choosing to make your submission. So a talk or a walkthrough is something you want to show and tell people. So it might be a particular project you've done, a particular workflow that seems to be working really well for you, or just an idea you want to share more widely with the community. You shouldn't be expecting people to be hands-on with what they're doing. This is very much you delivering to the room, and then the feedback you'll be getting will be in the forms of questions and answers that I don't think we've settled on the platform yet, but usually we've been using Slido for questions that are just presented digitally, and the chairs, the session chairs in the rooms at the time will handle that. Okay, so talks workthroughs, do you have anything you'd like to add to that? Okay, I'm going to take that as I did that, all right. So workshops, hackathons, workshops and hackathons. You've got something you want people to learn, try, or contribute to. So this might be a new tool, and you want to give people a hands-on demo. You'll be in the room. We'll put these in the flat rooms, so you'll be able to mingle with the people. Here, you should expect to do sort of a short presentation at the beginning, but the majority of the time, or a good proportion of the time, should be spent with people working hands-on through material. If a sponsor was to do a workshop or hackathon and we had Microsoft again, they might want to show the best ways of using Copilot, and then they'd be hopefully letting people get hands-on with that in the room. That isn't happening. That's just an example of what someone might do. An ongoing project we have, they've recently changed their name. I was going to try and remember. Is it the Direct Framework that's been renamed from the RSE Competencies Toolkit? If they were to do a workshop, or probably more likely a hackathon, because they've got a web platform they're trying to build and they're trying to get the community to contribute to it. So they might be asking to do a sprint, work with the community over that 90 minutes or 2 90-minute sessions to try and push some issues forward, get things submitted, and work on it as a community. That means people are going to be contributing to your project, and you should be aware and show that you have experience of running hackathons and things like that ahead of the time. The other thing is just something educational. You want to bring something to the conference. You want people to get stuck in. You want people to learn, and that usually means learning by doing here. So come and show them something that they need to, that you think would be helpful for them to know. These are often extremely popular. We're not limiting the number of any specific ones of these. So we're not saying there are this many workshops or hackathons, this many talks to work through, this many birds of a feather. We're just going to take the best submissions we've got and try and put together a really good program. Birds of a feather. So this is for people who are leading or thinking about starting a community to share ideas in a particular area. So some examples of ones that have happened in the past, the teaching and training, which I've been involved in the last couple of years. We did a birds of a feather to try and make sure we got everyone together, had a little chat about it, and we used that to collect the ideas to figure out what the special interest group should look like, just to formalise that community. Other communities that come together most years are the high performance computing. So RSEs who are all interested in HPC come together. Usually the birds of a feather are the communities then, and then they have a theme that the community tend to be interested in, or something the community wants to talk about all in person. And this is just a really great place to come together and hash out those ideas. Another special interest group that's recently started up is Green RSE. So people have got to come together in birds of a feather groups to say how can we do better green computing? How can we be more environmentally friendly with what we're doing? And that's another example of what a birds of a feather group. But they're not limited to what's on the screen. They're not limited to pre-existing communities. If you think there's a community out there and you get evidence that you'll get enough people to come together, please do submit birds of a feather. They're great events for getting people talking, but they tend to be a lot more free form than any of the other submissions, which have a clear structure and plan to them. But we do expect you to have some idea of what your outcomes will be from it, and that's sort of how we'll assess them. Posters. Posters are for ideas that are best displayed visually, or you like the idea of having your work displayed for people to come and talk to you about, or if you just don't feel that comfortable at this stage of your career standing up in front of a lot of people. We've seen some really good posters in the past that have generated a lot of interaction. They are also the only submission type you can do where you can potentially win a prize. So that might navigate you. We really want to try and encourage having more posters this year than we ever have before. We're going to have a larger specific poster session with a bit more time and a bit more space. So please do submit posters. You may submit more than one thing. So if you submit a talk, workshop, hackathon, birds of a feather, you could also submit a poster on something else you're interested in. And we do encourage that. Catherine, do you have anything you want to add about posters?
Yes. So I would say the two biggest changes compared to the previous years is that this time actually the lightning talk, so that's a small talk ahead of the actual poster session that you can give to an audience, is actually optional, which also means that if you do choose to give one and are picked for one, then you have a bit more time than in like a few more minutes than in the previous runs. And for the prizes, while the voting scheme is the same, so there's an audience contribution and then reviewers, we do also have different criteria this time. So it's not only based on the visuals, but also like a mix of the visuals, the content, the uniqueness, the contributions to the field and conference theme. So.
Okay. Yeah, and all those prizes are equal. So we're not having best, second, and third, and then another one. We are having 4 independent prizes, so you can win an A theme. All right, so those are formats. Okay, this one gets a bit more text-based. This is just so I don't forget the thing. And so when we do share the slides, that people can review back to them. But if you are signing up to be a reviewer, and this is also pertinent to people who are submitting, because if you know what the reviewer is going to be looking for, you can write a better submission. So first thing, relevance to the audience. We're asking reviewers to think beyond their personal tastes and thinking about the community at large and what they are coming to the conference to see. And really, when it comes to submissions and abstracts, we just want to make sure that the submitter has been clear about that, because the abstract is going to appear on the program, and we want people to end up in the right room for that. So trying to review it on, make sure it's relevant, and make sure the submitter has made it clear that it's relevant. Quality of abstract, again, we're looking at clarity. If you as a reviewer have to read it a few times, that's going to be frustrating for the audience who will come to RSECon. So we're looking to make sure that the abstract is of high quality, easy to understand, and the pitch is good. Internal consistency, as a reviewer, this is the one that I struggle to understand the most, but does the abstract make a convincing argument of what they are intending to present and do to meet the stated outcomes? So we're going to be asking submitters about what they're expecting to their attendees to get from it, and is that abstract convincing us that they are going to get there with their audience and make a successful session. This year at RSECon, because of our themes and the maturity of our community and the wide range of people, we are we really want to think about technical level. We want to encourage all levels of technical talks, and that means we need to know where on that scale the submission is so we can design a good program. You are not critiquing when you're answering this question. You are saying, I believe this to be a expert, medium, or beginner level talk. We don't want to put a track together where it's beginner, expert, because that's going to not be very fun to attend and have a lot of chopping and changing. So again, by putting this as a beginner talk, you're not saying this is a bad talk, or same with expert, we're just asking to get your opinion on that. Which means as a submitter, also think about how you're communicating what your technical level is. Audience size, this one's easy. We want to make sure that if we've got 500, where we have a 500 person room, we put the talk that will take the most people in there. That might be somewhat related to technical level. Highly detailed technical talks are likely going to go in the 60 person room, and general interest community talks more likely to go in the 5 person room. This will not be used as a critique on submissions. This is again just helping the program team put the talks in the right rooms. So that's why we're asking that. The final thing about the abstract we're going to ask you is, does the abstract show confidence in promoting our themes? We really want our themes to come through strong, and we really want to be able to say we've run a conference that have been based on RSE's contribution to research excellence and RSE's contribution to digital research infrastructure. Submissions that make that clear and submissions that we think will have a strong focus on that will be preferred, because that's what we've asked for. It doesn't mean that submissions that have a weaker narrative of those 2 themes won't be accepted, but we will use that as a tiebreaker or slightly prefer things that do fit the themes. So just keep that in mind when you're reviewing and when you're submitting. As a reviewer, we do give you the options to give your opinions on the abstracts that you've been asked to review. So viability, you get to tell the programme team if you think they've made a viable submission, if you think this will be something that was good for RSECon, and your opinions around that. We will also be asked a binary, or not quite a binary, you'll be asked to grade the acceptance as strong accept, medium, weak reject, and strong reject. And this is just your chance to give us an absolute idea of whether you think we should take that submission and put it into the conference. Along with that, we really want constructive feedback. Please, in this, be kind. Helpful feedback will help a good submission become a great one, or one that missed the mark come back next year, something that can make a grade. People are putting effort into their submissions and will likely have a personal attachment. They've asked to present this to the wider community, so they clearly think it's a good idea. Please don't write comments such as, this is a terrible idea and we don't want to see it at RSECon. If you do, we won't present, we will go through the feedback forms and try and remove things like that, so it won't get through anyway. So just keep it constructive, try and keep it positive, even if you're rejecting it. Just say, I'm rejecting it because of this, but then maybe highlight what you thought were the good bits and say why you thought that it was there for rejection, which bits you'd remove. Lastly, and this just comes back to us, is the justification to the programme team. If there's anything you think we should take into consideration about the submission, anything you thought was particularly good, particularly bad, or even you could suggest that this looks like something that would fit in this kind of track. So yeah, you do have a large amount of room to give your opinions, but we just ask that you take into account that there are people on both sides of the submission and review. So I'm going to throw back to this slide in a minute because if there's any questions, but I do just want to go through the submission and review platforms.
Hi, Philip. Hi, Philip. Yeah, I do have a question. I think you have answered it already, but maybe I've missed it. Will I be able to make multiple different submissions? I mean, can I submit a poster as well as birds of feather?
Yes, you can absolutely submit a poster and another session, and I don't believe there's any limit on how many submissions you can make. However, we probably will do a filter, and if you submitted 8 different things, we probably won't just give you a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, absolutely. A couple in the different categories is absolutely fine. So Birds of a Feather is a community event, a talk is a talk, and a poster is a poster. They'll be graded on their quality. You won't be penalised for putting in things. If it looks like we get loads of high quality things and we're struggling to make cuts, maybe we'll get back to you individually and say, is there anything you particularly like to put through, because we're considering how many things. But we'll get back to you when that if and when that becomes an issue. But I do not expect people putting a poster in and another thing in will be a problem, particularly when it's poster, and if it's multiple talks, again, probably not a problem, but let's see.
Okay. And another follow-up question to that. So you mentioned that there are 2 themes. So for each type of each type of session, we have to keep in mind the theme. So we have to stick to either of the themes, regardless of what form of session we are trying to submit. Is that correct?
The themes are, yes. So we want to see how you're considering what you're saying through the viewpoint of those themes. Given that the themes are RSE's contribution to research excellence, that's an extremely broad thing. It's basically everything we do. We are research software engineers, and we always hope that our work, and we would hope that the submissions that are made to a conference represent the very best of what we do. So that through that lens, you can say these activities contribute to the research culture that contributes to research excellence like this. That is fine. In terms of DRI, we're just trying to make sure that we're using that language in our talks. It's like, the reason why we're writing this software package is because tens, hundreds, thousands of researchers use this, therefore this is research infrastructure. Normally that's a subtext that goes throughout our talks because we know what we do is very important, but we just want to bring that right to the forward. We really want to highlight it and show people that we are in fact essential UK or national or UK or global digital research infrastructure in what we do and what we write. So yeah, always approaching from the themes, but it's not like you have to put that in your abstract title to make it obvious. We're just asking, we're asking to see a nod to it, essentially.
Okay, yeah, that makes it very clear, Philip. Thanks.
No worries. So here is the abstract submission form. This is the preview mode. Here we go. So first of all, you've got your authors. You can add multiple affiliations per author, and you can add multiple authors per submission. And then if it turns out that one author has actually done it more, you can reorder them and make sure, and you can also tick whether they will be presenting or not. Event type. So once you've selected your event type, we'll just go for a talk because it's easiest first. Then beneath it, that's when all of the details that you're going to fill in will pop up. We've got 3 different lengths of talk or walkthroughs, titles, abstracts, prerequisites to look at, what people who are coming to the talk need. This is potentially where you can start making an argument about what level you think your talk is at, whether it's a beginner, intermediate, or expert talk, the outcomes, the things your attendees are going to benefit from. If you've got any thoughts about accessibility, and we do encourage you to think about accessibility and read our accessibility guidance for the conference. The conference is likely to have a hybrid delivery, so how have you considered whether your submission can be hybrid or whether it can't be, and if so, what's your plan for that? You're able to tick both the themes or just one of the themes. Mentorship, if you want someone to mentor you in how to give a good talk or what to do, that's available. We haven't set up that call yet. We're going to wait to see how many people ask for it, and then if there's a very small handful, we'll set that up. So low-key, if there's a lot of people looking for mentorship, we'll put out a call for mentors. Permission to publish is just saying that we're allowed to publish your submission to the Creative Commons Attribution License if it's accepted by RCCon 25. And then conference recordings we publish to YouTube, slides and other contents to Zenodo. Pop in any authorship consent, any other additional information, and then click submit. So I will do a thing. If I then go to poster, you'll note that the submission fields have changed. Lots of them are very similar because most things are similar, but there's just a little bit of logic in there to make sure we're not asking how long a poster takes to deliver. Other notable ones are birds of a feather, and workshops have different session lengths, and they have slightly different fields in as much as content plan, so schedules to make sure you've given thought to how your community event will run. Any others I need to highlight here? Hackathons, again, slightly different fields. Feel free to have a click through, have a look at them, and if you've got any questions, please just reach out to me or the relevant member of the program team to ask a question to say, how does this work? The only thing you might be noting is RSE Worldwide is not there. That's because RSE Worldwide is not done via submissions. It's usually done and organised by the community internally. So if you're interested in RSE Worldwide or know more about that, please talk to Claire or Yanetta. Okay, as a reviewer, we have submissions, but I can't show them to you now. That would not be fair to the people who submitted. But basically, the abstract and all the information I've just shown you in that form would appear here, where it says submission responses would appear here. And then if we go to look at the right-hand side of the screen, first of all, you're asked if you have a conflict of interest. If you have, email us. We need to reassign that submission to another reviewer. And then we're just going to ask you these questions about relevance to audience, abstract quality, internal consistency, technical level, where we've separated it into 5 from not to extremely, audience size. We're not asking you specifically which room to put our talk in. We're just saying, do we think it's going to be more than 200, around 100, or less than 50? And that's just to give us an idea of how popular you think the talk will be. And again, when we're saying how popular you think it will be, don't think how much you want to go see it. Think about the community at large if you can. Here is where we're asking reviewers to rate the submissions on the conference themes, so they get to click whether it's RSE's Digital Research Infrastructure or RSE Research Excellence or neither. Again, If it's neither, that is not an auto reject. That is just saying we don't feel that they have particularly highlighted either. And that might be a comment, if it does get accepted, to the submitter to go back and say, is there any way you can help weave the themes into your narrative? Viability, we discussed that earlier. You've got the acceptance, which goes from a strong accept to a strong reject. Constructive feedback for the author, focusing on what they did well and what could be developed further. Again, most people have just written their abstract and not their slides at this point. So if you put good constructive feedback in there, they might make their talk better, and that would be really great. And if you are suggesting that we reject it, then you might want to provide some constructive criticism in that area. But again, keeping it nice, realizing there's a person who has put work into this on the other end. Justification for the program team, we're particularly asking you to justify your accept or reject submission, and we would also be interested in hearing about why you selected which conference theme and what you think. Once you're done, you click review, and then if you get through all your reviews really quickly and you think, oh goodness, I'd like to do some more of them, then let us know and we might be able to assign you some more. I think the more eyes we have on them, the better. We have allotted some extra time this year to do reviewer balancing, so we're going to try and do a few bits of number crunching to make sure that if one reviewer is reviewing slightly harsher than other reviewers, then we're just going to try and account for that in the grand scheme of things. But what it's essentially going to do is me and the rest of the program team are going to sit down and try and figure out what we think will make the best program, and we'll put it together. So these scores guide that, they don't control that. So, I can stop presenting. Now is your time to ask me and the rest of the program team any questions you might have, any clarifications you might like, or anything else you need to know.
Hi, I have a question. I have two questions. Mm-hmm. The first one, the last slide that you showed, how many of those fields are shown to the authors? Is it everything except the justification field?
That's a good question. I believe it is. But what I might do is I might go back in and just edit some of those to say, have a bracket and just say shown to submitter and not shown to submitter, because that isn't clear directly from here. I know constructive is definitely shown and justification is definitely not shown. The rest of them, I think, are shown, but I will go and double check that and I will make it clear which ones are and are not.
Okay. And sorry, just the second question. So I've only been involved with the RSC since last year, so I actually don't know what has been submitted in years before. I presume if someone, I don't know, this sounds mean, but does a repeat submission or something like that, that the organizers will, even if a reviewer passes it, the organizers will catch that and override it and say, well, this is a repeater or something like that. Because basically I only know what's happened last year. I don't know anything before.
That's fine. The community is ever growing, like we are going from strength to strength, and more people come, and the conference gets larger, and you see new faces there. So having repeats of certain things is not a problem. Yeah. Having a repeat of specific things, or very niche and specific things year to year, yeah. But broadly, something that is like a technical talk on accelerating Python or high-level NumPy usage, that's probably going to be accepted most years. We don't want to see what we want to see is that you've acknowledged the level your talk is at and what your take on it might be. So most RSCs know, for example, what NumPy is and don't need to be told, but there might be a collection of the community who really want to know how to eke out that last 5-10% of performance. That's something that could probably go into the program year on year, and that's not going to be a problem. But yes, quite a lot of the conference committee overall have been here last year, so we'll know roughly what's gone before, and we have access to the talks and the schedules and the programs from RSCCon before. If you want to see what's gone into the RSCCon last year or in 2023, and I think even 2022, you simply go to the RSCCon website and just change the year number in the URL, and you will be able to find the old websites. I think most of them are still up, and you can still see the programs. So if you are worried about repeating an abstract, have a quick skim through.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to ask at this point? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. Does any of the program team have anything they'd like to jump in and say? Grand. Okay, so now is the final announcement is that sorry, distracted by the chat. Neil's just put into the chat the previous year's program schedule, and that's, again, the link is the same, just changing the year number. So announcement, as most people expect, as it's been done, I think every year RSECon is running, we are extending the submissions deadline by 1 week, which means the new submissions deadline, I'm looking at my months now, will be, we're moving it from the 25th of April to the 2nd of May. So that should just remove the worry that anyone needs to be working diligently on their abstract over the Easter holidays if they haven't quite managed to get it done before they go on break. So that will be officially announced in about 20 minutes, but you will get a sneak preview of it because you were good enough to come to this meeting. So you have a week longer. That means if you've already put through a submission, you've got a week long to meddle with it in Oxford Abstracts. And once this meeting closes, I'm going to go in and I'm going to change the form close date in there. So you've all got a week longer, which means we're expecting even higher quality submissions from you all. Right. I think that's it then. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you again to the program team, and thank you for Neil for being here and helping out, who's from the logistics team. So, no further ado, I look forward to seeing all of your submissions, and I look forward to seeing all of the work that my reviewing team will be putting in, and I hope this has helped. So thank you everyone, and see you later.